welcome to another trip down the Bourbon Road with your hosts, Jim and Mike. So grab a glass of your favorite bourbon and kick back.
Well, you know who likes to give back to their community is one of our sponsors, Jim. Chris Cruz from Cruz Customs Flags. He does custom flags out of bourbon barrels. Not only does he do that, but he's also using veterans to build those flags with. I've got one right behind me, Jim. I know you got one on your bar. Beautifully handcrafted, repurposing a bourbon barrel, not throwing it away, not making it into smoking chips, making a piece of Americana, right?
It's something that'll last probably quite a few years longer than a bourbon barrel would, right?
Not only that, but he's using veterans to build those pieces of art with. You know, you gotta love that. But he's also giving back to his community at all times, helping veterans out like ourselves. He is really in tune to that. Go check his site out, cruzcustomsflags.com. You can buy his flags on there, key holders. Heck, Jim's got some these neat little cups that are charred inside, made out of oak, that you can put a cocktail in.
They call those the whiskey grail, don't they?
Yeah, that is, it kind of reminds you, when you think of a grail, but truly a whiskey grail right there. Go check those out at Cruz Customs Flags. Purchase from this guy, veteran owned, veteran operated, making a veteran built product.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Shannon.
And I'm Mike Hyatt.
This is the Bourbon Road. And today, Mike, we're out at Jephthah Bend Farm. It's a Craft Distillery Monday episode.
Yeah.
This is a bottle that we picked up at the Southern Whiskey Society event down in Franklin, Tennessee.
We did.
This distillery was putting their wares on display there. We had a chance to taste a few things, and they made sure we left with a bottle.
Well, that's always nice when you go to an event empty-handed and you leave with stuff, right?
Absolutely.
We were loaded down. We were loaded for bear, Jim.
You had to make several trips.
Yeah. Yeah. So this distillery is out of Denver, Colorado. This is Mythology Distillery. They're known for their labels, really. Their labels are pretty cool.
Yeah. And the names are pretty cool too, right?
Yeah. Definitely for this one right here. I like it. You like it. We're both sitting here saying it several times. This is kind of the label on this is like half a mountain man and half Wolverine.
Yeah.
What would that be called?
Half mountain man and half Wolverine? Grizzly Adams? I don't know.
Yeah, Grizzly Adams comes to mind. Actually, the guy on the label looks like Grizzly Adams. That's kind of our time. I don't think a lot of people today even know that was a show.
Yeah. So this is the Mythology Hell Bear American Whiskey.
Did you say Hell Bear?
Hell Bear.
Yeah, this is one of those kind of boo ryes, right?
Yes.
We know a couple of the distilleries are making those or blending those. Foregate, we just tasted one of those.
High West has had one for quite some time.
High West does, which, did they have the original idea?
Well, they got the name Boo Rye.
Boo Rye.
They own that.
Yeah.
So
this is a blend of 3 different whiskeys, Jim. You got a 2 to 3 year old rye that's a 95.5, which 95% rye, 5% malted barley. You got
and that should bring the bite, right?
Should
a little bit.
Should
okay.
A little candy.
A 2-year-old, right?
Yeah.
And it's not quite candy at 2 though yet, is it?
2 to 3.
Yeah.
4-year-old bourbon that's 60% corn, 36% rye, and 4% malted barley. And then a 5-year-old bourbon that's 68% corn, 20% wheat, and 12% malted barley.
So 2-year-old rye, a 4-year-old bourbon, and another 5-year-old bourbon.
A rye bourbon and a wheated bourbon.
Rye bourbon and a wheated bourbon. But all 3 of those come together to make a 2-year-old whiskey. Let's be fair about it, because whiskey is always aged by the youngest spirit.
Youngest spirit, yeah.
So this is, even though it's a mixture of those other years, this is still a 2-year-old spirit. Now, very recently, we had a 2-year-old that was pretty darn good, didn't we?
We have. And I don't know, you don't know how much of each of these is in there. You'd like to think equal parts. And I don't know if that, just because it's the youngest whiskey, if there was 3 parts, then you would have to take the average of the 3.
Yeah.
So I would think there's 3.
Well, it'll be very apparent. My guess is it would be very apparent when we taste this whiskey how much of that rye is in there, because that's a prominent flavor, right?
Yeah.
We should be able to tell.
We should be able to. And this is 90 proof. Comes in at about $53. That's not bad, right?
Yeah, it's not a cheap bottle they've used. They've certainly put a lot of money into the design of the labels, but really, as we've said a million times, it comes down to the liquid inside.
Yeah, you could put a beautiful label like they have on it. You can
lipstick on a pig, right?
Yeah, heck yeah. This is kind of that old elk bottle, Wild Turkey's their Master's Keep bottle kind of style. I like this style, especially old elk. So I'm very curious about this. This is we call it a golden honey in the glass.
It's lighter than you might expect a 4-year-old bourbon to look like, right?
Yeah,
a Kentucky bourbon. So I would say golden honey is probably a good choice on the color of this.
Can you get a 2-year-old rye whiskey? Is 2 to 3 years? You think that's old enough for a rye whiskey? Because rye whiskeys are quicker, right?
Yeah, quicker. It can be. I think you can get a fine whiskey a fine rye at 3 years old. Sure, maybe even at 2. I don't know. I think that it does take a little bit of time in the barrel, but where they are in the rick house, what climate they're in, what time of the year they're put in, what time of the year they're pulled out, I think it can have a big effect on it.
Yeah. I'd give a shout out to Brandon Griffin. He's their Southeast market manager for Mythology. He's the one that handed us the bottle. Shout out to you there, Brandon. We really do appreciate you giving us a chance to review this.
All right. Well, Mike, what do you say we check out the nose on this?
Let's do it. Cheers.
Cheers. It's got a real sweet sort of corn nose on it, doesn't it?
I was going to say big league chewing gum. It has that corn starch all over it. It
does. Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you open up that big league chewing gum, and it would be just chalky almost inside. Sweetness to it.
Yeah, a little bit of stone fruit. But we didn't know the exact mash bills, right? Did we know how much barley's in this?
Yeah, there is barley in each one of those.
Well, certainly there is some, but is there a reasonable amount?
In that 5-year-old, there's a 12% malted barley.
All right. I'm definitely getting like a stone fruit, like a peach or pear nose on it. Yeah, the more now that you've said it, I am getting that big league chew cornstarch kind of, like off the outside. But
you always say Necco candies, and I think it was Necco's candies. I was somewhere the other day and I found some and I bought them for you. And I was so excited. I was like, Viv, look, there's Necco candies. And I bought them and I gave them to you. Did you eat them?
No, not yet. I'm hanging on to them for a special occasion.
You got to watch out because some grandkids will get a hold of them.
That's true. That's true. I'm not sure if a kid today would even like them. Do you think?
I don't know. They'd probably like, what is that?
What is that?
Yeah.
Where's the chocolate?
Yeah. Maybe that little bit of that Necco candy. I might even get some, what are they? They're chalky like that. Not Starburst. Maybe that is what I'm thinking. Starburst.
Well, the fruit on this is really light, though. Very, very light. Not getting a lot of barrel influence on it.
Maybe like an unripened peach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like really firm.
Real hard, firm peach. Yep. Absolutely. I think you nailed it there. All right, well, let's taste it. I tell you, I will say this. The nose has me wanting to taste it. So
very interesting because they took that rye whiskey, a rye bourbon, and a wheated bourbon and put it all together. And I don't know that anybody else has done that.
Yeah.
Will the wheat play well with that? I mean, it does in a 4-grain. So
now, is the wheated bourbon the 4-year-old or the 5-year-old?
That's the 5-year-old.
Okay.
Which would make sense.
It does
you would
make
want
sense.
to use an older one, right?
Sure.
Well, heck, Jim, let's stop talking and drink.
A bit of corn sweetness on that.
Very, very, I wasn't expecting how light it is. It's like light as a feather on your tongue. I mean, very, very light on your tongue.
It does kind of sort of dance across the top of your tongue and doesn't really set in for any kind of an impact.
Not what I was expecting.
I need to take another sip and let it sit on the front of my tongue for a minute. I want to see if that pick up that wheat bourbon.
I'm getting a little bit of that wheat going. I know listeners are going to get on me about this, but I don't know if you've ever taken some honeysuckle, one of the flowers, or even some of the greenness off of it and chewed on it. For some reason I have. I've taken one of the flowers and chewed on it, and you get that little bitty light floral note there. Like you said, a little corn sweetness. Maybe like you ever had cream corn?
Oh, yeah. Cream corn.
That sweetness of the cream corn?
I'm trying to think of what it is for me. It's a little bit, so it's kind of funny. When I held it on the front of my tongue, I started to pick up that sweetness. I let it roll down the sides of my tongue to the back, and that sweetness settled in on the back sides of my tongue. It's kind of interesting, but it doesn't have a lot of bold flavor. It's very light, kind of tiptoeing through your palate, right?
Yeah, like I said, like it's very like a feather. It's just a hint of spice on there. This would get me in trouble, Jim. I mean, you could power this sucker down.
This is like drinking sweet honey tea. But although you don't get the tea flavor in it, I'm just sort of trying to equate it to something that, because it's very easy on the palate. It doesn't.
I'm getting a hint of citrus. And you ever had like orange tea? Orange tea is not heavy on the tea. You put some honey in there in the wintertime, and I might get a little bit of that. Just that citrus. It's like zest. Citrus zest is what I'm getting on this. That's the tingle of the spice I'm getting.
Yeah, I mean, the rye does play a little bit, but not playing a huge role on this. So I get a little bit more of the corn. I think it's reasonably well done for what's in it. I will say this, it's not an overwhelming kind of flavor. It doesn't really give you notes that you can start picking out and saying, I like this, I like this, I like this.
Yeah, you definitely couldn't mix this at all.
Yeah.
This is let's sit down as friends, have a conversation, and me and you can enjoy this whole bottle.
I mean, that's what I'm afraid of. I mean, you would sit down with this bottle and probably within a very short period of time, you'd find yourself in trouble because it's gone.
You try to stand up.
Now, what was the proof on this again?
It's 90 proof.
Okay.
Respectable. They didn't proof it down to 80. Would I've liked to see it at 100, 110,
Yeah.
I would have. But, you don't know how those flavors are going to play with that deal. I'd like to say I know what they're getting at this. That citrus zest I'm getting, that corn sweetness, like I said. And maybe a lot of people have never had, cream corn before. I have. I still enjoy it to this day. It doesn't enjoy me, but that's just because I'm getting a little older.
Well, I mean, it's an easy drinker. It's an easy sipper. It definitely is not something that is going to, this is not a cigar whiskey. This is not going to make you think a whole long time about what's going on. I think it's pretty simple and straightforward. I think it's well done based on the components that are in it. I think our listeners would like to know why this is called Hell Bear.
So the story of the Hell Bear, Jim, is a Colorado prospector ventured into darkness. In the mine, he heard a loud snap. Then he was falling.
So he walked across a board or something and it broke.
Yeah, must have.
He fell down in a hole or something.
Yeah. In a daze in the pitch black, he awoke, face to face with a unique creature, part bear, part badger. Resolved that today wouldn't be his last, he rose and followed the glow of the creature's eyes. The hell bear guided the explorer to the surface, then vanished back into the mine.
Well, at least he got him out of the mine. I guess it's a good hell bear.
I think that Colorado prospector had been drinking too much whiskey.
It probably was. It probably fell down in the mine, got lost for 2 days. His wife was upset. He didn't come home. He had to come up with a story. So he invented the hell bear. And let me ask you this, Mike. Which would you rather face? Honestly, a badger or a bear?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I would personally rather go ahead and face a bear.
Because you can holler a bear off.
Well, your death's probably going to be pretty quick if he's going to kill you.
Yeah. But I mean, you can say, hey, bear, get out of here, bear. Get lost, bear. Get out of here.
You know, Badger
doesn't care.
It's just going to tear you up.
It's just coming at you, and you
probably not going to kill you.
But it ain't going to climb a tree.
No, it's going to come after you.
That's true.
Yeah. For me, this is a buy, Jim. I like different whiskeys. This kind of reminds me of getting into whiskey right here and getting something new. And you're like, wow, this is pretty nice. I would call this a spring or summer sipper.
Definitely a warm weather drinking whiskey. There are whiskeys for seasons, right? We've talked about that a lot of times in the past. And this one definitely would play well in hotter weather because it is kind of refreshing. I mean, it doesn't have a long finish. It doesn't stick around very long at all. It's kind of a medium to short finish. It doesn't have too much Kentucky hug or Colorado hug, does it?
No, I'm not getting a hug at all. That makes me wonder it was these sweet mashes that they were used. That'd be nice to know. We don't know which distilleries it came from. We could try to take a guess. I have no clue though. 20% wheat and a 5-year-old. And I don't know.
I wouldn't mind. I tell you what, this would be a good whiskey to take on a fly fishing trip to Colorado, or pick up in Colorado when you're out there on a fly fishing trip. Put it in camp, and when you're done fly fishing for the day and you get back to camp, sit down with a bottle of this and make it disappear. It wouldn't be hard to do.
Yeah, to their credit, Jim. You were saying that the mixture of all the whiskeys, right, is still would be a 2-year-old, and to their credit, right on the bottle, minimum 2 years old.
So 2 things we can learn from looking at this bottle that the distillery did correctly. One is aging it properly based on the youngest whiskey.
Yep.
The other one is calling out the fact that it's an American whiskey rather than a blended bourbon or something like that. So very straightforward, properly labeled. They even say, where it's blended and bottled, right?
Yeah. I mean, they took no shortcuts on this, I think. I love that about them, their transparency. Now, do they have a NDA with the companies they bought the whiskey from? They probably do.
Probably so. I think in most cases that's a truth. I think they're allowed to say minimal information about where the whiskeys come from. But in this case, they just tell you what you need to know, which is, hey, they blended and bottled it. It's got 3 parts in it. These are the mash bills. They don't tell you the percentages, but they don't need to do that, right?
Well, I think sometimes.
I can tell that the rye, in my opinion, the rye is not like a major percentage in this. Probably not more than a third.
You think?
Probably less.
I was thinking it probably is a third. I was thinking it, hopefully there's I don't know how many bottles of this was. And this is released in 2021. We might be a little bit late to the game on this whiskey right here, but I'd had some of their whiskey and, I'm a fan of them. I'm a fan of companies that are trying something different. This is definitely something different. I can't say that I've had something like this before. It's very nice. That citrus, that, it's just different. That spring, that summer sipper is light enough to where I'm not going to be overpowered. We almost recorded outside today too, Jim. It was so nice.
It's a really nice day today.
And the reason we didn't record outside, I think there were cicadas in the trees still.
Yeah.
And they are just a buzzing.
Well, this whiskey is a double gold candidate. So, it's labeled with a double gold award. So I think it definitely has garnered some respect at the judging table. 90 proof Colorado whiskey, blended well, bourbon and rye blend, an American whiskey at 90 proof. Sips easy. I think you can't go wrong with it. You definitely can't.
There's people charging $30 more for the same age stuff.
Yeah, they are. And I think this is a fair price. It's not over the top. When you talk about price per years, you have to understand that some of the whiskey in here is older, even though they have to label it as a 2-year-old. There is some 5-year-old whiskey in this. So we not knowing the portions of it, I think that a $50 price tag is probably fairly reasonable. $53, I think you said, right?
Yeah, $53.
Yeah,
that's not bad. I mean,
and you get to drink a little Hell Bear.
A little Hell Bear. it just goes with, I think, Denver, the mountains, prospectors, gold. I mean, we said this is kind of a golden honey. We got a little gold in the glass. Yeah. But here's the thing. I could sit down with you, Jim, and we could enjoy this entire bottle, have a great conversation, probably just pick it apart and say, hey, we talk about the Hill Bear, and talk about Badgers and talk about Mountain Men, talk about Grizzly Adams. I haven't thought about Grizzly Adams in a long time.
Yeah, me too. It's been a while. It has
been a while. That's a man my size right there.
All right, listeners. So if you want to find out more about this Hell Bear American whiskey, go to the Mythology website and check them out. I think that they've got a number of expressions that we have not had on the show yet.
Yes, sir.
Maybe we'll get a chance to do that in the future. Mike, where can people find us on the internet?
Well, you can find us on TikTok. We're trying to put some videos on there. We're just two old guys trying to get it done. So just remember, be patient with us. Video every month or so. That's how we kind of roll. But give us a follow on there if you're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. Not a whole lot of videos on there. Every once in a while, pop a video up on there too. We're on Twitter. Jim, you run that Twitter account, right?
Yeah, we don't do a lot there, but there's something. It's mostly for us, Instagram and Facebook. Right?
Instagram and Facebook. The main place you find us is on the Bourbon Roadies. It's our private Facebook page or group. Like-minded folks. You got to be 21. You got to like bourbon or whiskey. And you got to agree to play nice because we don't tolerate any rudeness in there. We got 3 great moderators, Adam, Jason, and Drew. They'll make sure you find yourself right out if you can't play nice. You can't let somebody enjoy the whiskey they're drinking.
So we do 2 shows every week. Every Monday, we do a craft distillery episode like today's. We'll pick a single expression like Hell Bear American Whiskey from Mythology. We'll drink it. We'll talk about it. We'll tear it apart. We'll tell you what we think about it, whether or not you should add it to your bar. Every Wednesday, we'll do a full-length episode. We usually have a guest on, but sometimes it's just a couple of bottles or Mike and I chit-chatting. We always like to deep dive a subject, though, and get into detail on something that interests you. So make sure you check out both episodes every week. And Mike, what can they do to make sure they don't miss one?
Well, listeners, you need to scroll up the top of that app, hit that check sign, that subscribe sign, that plus sign, whatever you have to do to make sure that app tells you, hey, these 2 jokers got a show that's come out today and you need to listen to it. And then you know what I'm going to say. Scroll on down to the bottom of that app, hit that 5-star review, leave us some comments if you would, because you know what's going to happen if you don't. The big bad booty daddy of bourbon's going to come to your house, dragging the Hell Bear with him. You'll drink some of this Mythology Hell Bear whiskey all night. Hopefully the Hell Bear stays calm. That's what we hope. But by the end of the night, you'll damn sure leave us that 5-star review in those comments. But seriously, those comments, those 5-star reviews, they open up distilleries' doors to us. They get great whiskey in our hands, like this Mythology Hell Bear, for us to review. Let you know, hey, what you should be drinking, what you should have on your shelf. We'd really appreciate it.
And when you see us out in town, if you run into us into a liquor store, an event, or at a distillery, make sure you come up and say hey to us. Introduce yourself. If you're a roadie, we'd love to meet you. If you're not a roadie, we'd still love to meet you. If you got an idea for a show, if you have an idea for a bottle or a distillery that needs to be highlighted, make sure you let us know. You can always hop on our website, thebourbonroad.com. We got a contact us page there. You can also send us emails. I'm Jim at thebourbonroad.com. He's Mike at thebourbonroad.com. Like we always say, probably the best way. Just hit up our DMs on Instagram. I'm JShannon63.
I'm Big Bourbon Chief.
We'll see you down
the Bourbon Road.